strategy should be, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna rent the equipment during these months to be able to do that, and this is what we're gonna focus on, cause Hector, the way I see this happening, and this is just me, if we in fact intend to do it ourselves, is gonna have to take X amount of months, 2, 3 to 4 months, and say, well, this time, all we're gonna do is do this work.
Okay.
Now, you may have some
Right.
issues with patching, you may have issues where they'll fall back with other tasks, right?
Yes, no,
But-
let me interrupt, please, if you
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
mind,
Sure.
Mayor. And I'm okay with that, because a lot of cities do that. But before we go into that, I need to see, like, if we're budgeted here for that, for the training of the equipment that we're gonna rent. I wanna be able to get these guys, because I know they can do it, if they're properly trained. Make sure they get trained prior to the rental of the equipment that we're gonna do to fix the road.
Mhm.
That we get these people qualified and trained on the equipment that we're gonna rent out. So when the equipment does come out, we're rocking firing. You know, we're going and going and we're not stopping. Of course, we're gonna, hit bumps along the road. That's life. You know, if there was no bumps, it wouldn't be called life, right? But we need to be able to get the training so it could be fair to the employees as well, and to make sure we have that money budgeted if we're gonna pull from the street so our budget can work, because we did not raise taxes. But we also have to give the taxpayers back what they need, and it's good roads.
No, and you have in your budget, in the budget there, you do have items for training and also for meetings that they have to attend, whether that's meetings and travel, they have to have the training here, go somewhere, it's in there. You have over $10,000.
That's all my comment was. It's just, when we say that, I wanna be more clear for the people that are waiting for their streets to be fixed. Cause it gets frustrating. Like, I don't live on a street that needs to be fixed, but there's some people that do.
Well, you make a fine point, and as an example, I think I've mentioned this, I hate to reiterate too much, but 2018-19, the county and the city worked together on Gillian Road, and as an example, that road cost a total of $26,000, and it's a pretty good road. So my hope is, and my belief is, that, and in talking with the county, they're willing to assist us with that. So your point is well taken. If it's just us solo, you bet we want to make those dollars go as far as we can and get as much done as we can. But I'm hopeful that we can do it in unison with the county. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we got 60 miles of roads in Pearsall, more or less. Is that right? So anyway, do the math. We could probably make some pretty good inroads with $300,000 or $500,000.
I'm okay with that, just to make sure that people, like our employees, have the training and, we're properly using the equipment that we're purchasing already. Thank you, Mayor.
Well taken. Good point. Councilman Hernandez?
Mr. Gonda, you were talking about the pothole patcher. Do we need training in that? Do we need training because we have new employees? Because
We need
bought that
training.
thing 4 years ago.
Altogether, we need training on the hot mix side. That's something we've never done in Pearsall since Domingo and Jose Day. We haven't done, what's that?
Hot mix?
Yeah, hot mix, correct. It's a totally different monster than the cold mix. You have to keep it hot, and
Right.
the thing's designed for it. It just hasn't worked out for us. I don't know if we've tried several different vendors, and nothing seems to work at the moment. Now, there is a team out of Midland that specializes in pothole patching, but nonetheless, it's just a pothole patcher. It's not gonna create a road. We're not gonna be able to reconstruct a road with it. Right? It's just strictly for potholes.
My understanding though, from this company that we purchased that truck from, when we spoke to them at a conference about 3 years ago, is that they would assist with that training. They would come out and they would help us get that going.
Okay, well, I'm not aware, it predates me, 'cause I wasn't here, I was still at the wastewater plant when all this purchase was made, so.
Was I here?
It was longer. I was on council.
Yeah, it was about 4 years ago.
Somebody said
But
it was
I thought we had trained a group of people to run it.
We did, in that group, I think we have Joe and Mr. Israel Gutierrez is the only two still left from that group. And we have some really good people. Jesse Ramirez, he's the best at it, and he has trouble trying to pinpoint what's actually going on here, because none of it. We're thinking it's material, they're saying it's maintenance. It's a lot of it's just an ongoing issue. We go back and forth with these people, and trying to get somebody out here during a pandemic is also the next hardest thing, besides the actual problem, trying to figure out that pothole patcher. The code mix works really well.
And I'm no expert either, but what I understand, some of it has to do with quantities of what you're putting into the machine and quantifying your ratios of,
Formula.
yeah, that, and again, I don't know if you have to be an expert. I know that Roxy's talked above my head and tried to explain some of it to me. But until we may just need to ask her and say, hey, maybe if she can help us out with understanding how, because every, pothole patchers are used by TxDOT, they use it, so they know the quantities more so than probably we would. But that's.
I think we need to reach out to the company,
I agree with
Have-
Councilman Hernandez.
have them come out here again, because they did come out here and demonstrate all that, and actually train some folks back there.
I think maybe we need to look at that and see if we can get them back out here. If worst case fails, we go with the county and see if Road and Bridge can give us a crash course.
I don't think they have them, right?
I think they
The
do.
county?
The county, doesn't know.
Or TxDOT.
TxDOT has
I'm
it,
sorry,
county and all the
TxDOT.
pavers and the millers and all
To
that.
me, they're the same.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
I think I made some really good points about as far as, interlocal agreement with the county. I know county has done a lot of local agreements with us. We fixed plenty of roads. Point well made by Councilman Rodriguez.
Same thing.
As far as, getting properly trained, that way when we do rent equipment, it goes smoothly, we get things accomplished. But most importantly, before we go in there and we actually disturb that base underneath those roads, we need to make sure that the infrastructure underneath there is brought up to par. Because what happens when we disturb the soil underneath or the base, there's shiftment in that soil, and it's gonna create either a water leak. And here we are 3 or 4 months later, digging up that roadway we just paved. So I think that's something that we just gotta, when we do pick out these roads, go back and see where we are as far as the update in that, infrastructure underneath. But I think we could definitely stretch that dollar if we do it ourselves. And I completely have 100% faith that our men that we have working for us and our ladies can do whatever job task we give them. And if they can't, then let's get them to training, and let's give them what they need, the resources they need to get things accomplished, and that way we can start moving forward and utilizing what we have.
And council, I believe we'll be pretty involved in that process, of when we go to that, we'll have a chance to put input and those kind of things. But sticking to the budget specifically, these are good points, well taken. Any other questions, any other issues you guys want to discuss at this point? Yes, sir.
On the budget?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, and, finance department, I don't know what page it is. It's in general fund finance. Under personnel, what we have currently budgeted and what's proposed for next year is just a little higher than, last time I asked about this, you were going to look into.
Are you talking about the personnel that we
Right.
this, I think we have, Becky, do you have the personnel that's covered under finance this year? I know we talked about
Number 9. I think the big increase is gonna be on, line item 103, 102.
On page 9, under finance, you have the salaries of, you have different folks that are under that, on 102 there. I think that's what you're looking at, is that right?
Yeah.
Where is the assistant finance director that we are advertising at $90,000? Where does that fall under?
Half of that falls under 101.
So we're gonna take from one and the other,
You're out, half of that salary falls under 101 here on finance.
101, and where does it fall, the other one?
The other one falls in utilities. So the other part of the salary is in utilities. So basically, the finance director does work for both utilities and does work for the general fund. So you have the salary split.
No, that's fine, but I was just saying, because I saw that it was being advertised for $90,000.
So utilities, did we add personnel in that department?
So under salaries and wage scale, we have a total of, can you give me a total number? I believe we added her, but there's 4 total, 4 salaries coming out of that, which is all the ladies that are, they're towards the
And how
back.
many were last year? Did we add people?
It was just Melissa and Leah.
Melissa and they pulled out that budget last year. So yes, we added 2 people to this budget. Yes.
So that money came from, where did that?
That money, those dollars were being pulled out of another, that's what I'm saying, that's what I keep referring to. I feel a lot more confident about what people are getting paid out of this fiscal year than I have.
Roland used to pull from 6 departments.
So I'm saying that, yes, these numbers, and I can show you, if you wanna go out and get the details, I can show you who's getting paid out of what departments. Something that I feel that we could have done last year. I mean, again, to me, I feel comfortable with the 153,000, because I know there's 4 staff that are getting paid out of that. They're 1 or 2.
Any other questions, Council?
Okay, so everybody's just putting the right category.
It's a lot better this year, I will say this, and I don't think you'll see, I don't anticipate you won't see much fluctuation next year unless we add more people.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Under, the hot tax fund,
Yes, sir.
hotel motel fund. I don't know what page number it is, but they're under transfers in. Where's that transfer coming from? General fund? And what's it for? 62,000?
62,808. See the reserves there?
Transfer in reserve?
Yes, I see what you're saying, I see what you're looking at.
What is that?
That's a good question. I don't, hold on, do you recall that? Under the transfer in reserves there? It's under 4913, it's.
I don't think we can transfer in from general fund.
No, it's a transfer into reserves, but yeah, no, we're definitely not pulling anything from general fund, you would have seen under 4902.
Wasn't something being held that we had it at the bank that was coming with the Chamber of Commerce, that we were putting money in a different account at one time?
I have to check that, Mr. I don't know honestly, I have to check and verify, but I know that when this was done, that one, your question about that. I will say this on the hotel funds, at least so far this fiscal year, this coming fiscal year, it seems like we're actually, this fiscal year, we're gonna do a lot better than projected because of our,
We got the detention of illegals in our hotels.
there's, well, yeah. So we anticipate the hotel tax, doing better this fiscal year, we anticipate a big reserve. But I will find that out, because I don't know what that reserve, that transfer in, but it's not from our, I can tell you that it's not from our reserves from general fund, I can say that.
Okay, and on the next page, under, hot tax, under maintenance, the money that's, proposed for next year, 150,000.
Yes, sir. Those are gonna be, again, things that we make, I know we talked about doing some things out at in the Civic Center.
The Civic Center.
And then we're also gonna touch up some things at the tourism building. But aside from that, I don't anticipate us using, I don't have any quote estimates as to what all the work is gonna entail. But I don't anticipate using more than $150,000.
But we are gonna keep the tourism building in case we open up the Chamber of Commerce,
Yes.
which
Yes.
we want to do.
Yes.
That's the goal, I think,
We're
again.
not gonna move to the library, right?
Right, no,
No,
we're
they
gonna
need
work
their
on
own
some
building.
tourism building, the 2 things, or at least a couple of things that I would suggest on that, and what we're gonna, at least what I'm gonna look at is find a way to make it a little more ADA compliant, particularly the restrooms. Because the restrooms, the restroom that's there, needs some work. So we'll have some expenses there, and maybe, doing some work there to the driveway and the entrance into that building. Yes.
Council, any other questions? Okay, well, this is not an action item, it's just a chance to ask a few more questions before we go to final approval next Wednesday. Thank you guys very much. If you have any questions, welcome to call me or welcome to call Fred, coming to me, but we're close. And again, thank you guys very much for your work on getting to this point. I'm excited, council, we've got a budget that's gonna balance. I'm excited about that with no new taxes. Okay, moving on.
Mayor, before we move on, one more question for Fred. Fred, is it possible for you to give us a list of everyone that's getting a raise?
I can, actually, what I would prefer, council, is, and again, the staff has already worked on, has been working behind the scenes on some PAFs. You're welcome to come in, you're welcome to come in and speak to me, and.
I don't want to talk to you.
every-
I'm different.
Now, we can meet after this if you like.
Councilman Hernandez.
My understanding is that we're going to get people on salary scale,
Yes.
not a pay raise necessarily, but some people are not on the scale.
Right.
And they should be making more,
Right.
and that's what we are going to be doing.
Which scale? The scale that you presented to us, or the scale y'all approved years ago?
No, it's the scale that was presented.
We just approved it,
And
not
so,
so long ago.
so what we're doing on that end, council, is again, we've gone through it and we keep making sure that we wanna make sure that things are right, and we've worked with HR, we've worked with, I've had to work with finance, and on our end, we've prepared, and we're to a point now where, again, of course, we're gonna wait for budget approval, but it is getting people to a scale. What I've seen, is there are increases, some not as big as others, right? But everybody is consistent to what the market is. We try to get people to hire, because they present it to you in the minimum, medium, mid, and the highest point. We're trying to get everybody just to the minimum, in order to be a little competitive. But with that, where we are right now, I feel like, to be quite frank, I feel we can compete. We may not be the highest paying group, we recognize that. Whether it's, it doesn't matter who we're comparing against. We're not the highest paid group, but I feel that we're competitive, and we're not gonna get laughed at whenever we make an offer to somebody, for their job. So I feel better about it, and I think, like I said, the folks that are good, you'll see some benefit. A lot of people that have been here for a lot of years, people have been here 10, 25, 30 years, that maybe have never seen increases, and for whatever reason, there never have been, whatever, cost of living or whatever you might want to call it. But those folks, and again, it does recognize, tenure, length of service, not only here, but just in your jobs you've done, that relate to your current job. So, anyway, I'll be more than happy to share any information with the council as it relates to anybody.
I'd like to say something there.
Yes, sir, Councilman Hernandez.
Mr. Reyes, you mentioned salaries, and it makes it seem like we're not competitive.
Right.
We were actually competitive, considering the fact that we provide all the benefits as well. We also compared ourselves to some cities out there that are in better economic standing.
Yep.
And so, at this point, I feel like our salaries here are going to be competitive.
Yes.
And I don't feel like anybody felt like our salaries were not competitive at any point. We did go through and use the TML salary analysis a few years ago, and that brought up a lot of people to competitive salaries. So this, I think, is a great push forward, and I think our employees now, even at the minimum, are gonna be making the salaries commensurate with the competitive market out there.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, guys. All right, well, we're moving on now to item J, discuss and consider approval of the 2021-2022 fiscal year holiday schedule. Mr. Reyes?
Yes, I'll try not to take too long here. This schedule varied just a little bit, but I hope we get your consent, and if not, that's okay. On what are the additional holidays we added in there. The one that's recognized as national holiday, I believe, let me go to my packet here.
Just, what are you adding? You're just
Juneteenth.
adding two, right?
Juneteenth. Juneteenth was, that I think is recognized as a national holiday. Again, if we don't get that day, it's fine if we don't. But that was the one addition. The one change that we made was giving the staff off for the New Year's Eve. And the change, meaning we're asking that we have the 2 days for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and we are basically saying, I think there's President's Day that you were getting off. We're asking that we take that off the schedule.
You're saying that you added Juneteenth?
Net no change, we're taking one and adding one?
It
Right.
became a
So,
national.
net no change.
Right, so it would be a change. Juneteenth became a national holiday. But again, if it's something that.
Mayor, if there's no other questions, I would like to make a motion to go ahead and approve, the 2020, 21, 2022 holiday schedule.
Thank you,
I have a question.
Councilwoman Rodriguez. Is there a second?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
You're too fast.
Well, you can still question
Okay.
after
All right,
the
here's
motion.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a motion. We're gonna call for a second. Is there a second?
Nobody's gonna second the schedule?
Okay.
If y'all don't, it dies, and then we have to bring it back, or I
Okay.
don't know if we can bring it back.
We'll just take the same schedule.
Well,
Yeah,
I think,
same schedule.
okay,
We can't do that.
Why not?